Hello, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me today. Could you please introduce yourself for our community?
Hi, my name is Brian Gomez, and I was an ELP National Fellow in 2020, and I'm currently on the board.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brian. My first question for you is what drew you to the National Fellowship Program?
Yeah, so I think I found out about it probably a couple years before. So I think I maybe had even applied or been aware of it a couple years before, but then it kind of came back into my view. I was looking online for some sort of like leadership program. I was at an organization that was growing really fast, and there wasn't a ton of support or structure that I felt that I had. And so I was kind of just looking for a little bit more guidance on how to navigate my organization.
Okay, cool. And how do you feel like the fellowship has supported your professional growth?
I think it gave me a lot of guidance, a lot of mentorship, and I think access to a community of people that were kind of in the same spot as me. It made me realize that I wasn't the only one that had these issues, or it wasn't a personal problem that I was having some trouble navigating my organization or growing within it. And so I think just, yeah, it gave me some of those tools and made me feel a little bit less alone.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's a common thing that I've heard from our community
Mm.
before. I heard you mention mentorships. So like what relationships, whether it be a mentorship or, something outside of that, has been like the most impactful relationship that you've had in your journey?
Yeah, so while I was doing the fellowship, I was really able to connect with someone on staff who was doing some of the work um, in a different program, but was also kind of local to my city. And so I was able to bring them in to do a training at my organization. And I think just seeing how they worked with other fellows in their program, I think was very inspirational and kind of was a really good model for how I was, going to navigate my organization or just kind of the environmental community as a whole.
From your perspective, what gaps do you feel that EOP fills in this environmental space since you've been in it for a little while now? What gaps do you see that it fills?
Yeah, I would say overall the environmental movement is very disconnected. And I think especially for people that are underrepresented in these organizations, it can feel even more isolating. I think when I realized when I started becoming more acquainted with these spaces, I found out, oh, actually, like there's a lot of us. Like there are a lot of us that are actually in the space. If there's an organization that's really dedicated to supporting people, you'll find other people like you. But there's nothing really within organizations, I think, that I've seen that kind of can do what ELP does of bringing these people together in organizations.
Yeah, and throughout all of our programs, like I'm sure you know that we've supported like well over 2,000 environmental leaders in this field. And now we're running a fundraising campaign, call 1,000 environmental leaders, because we've been around for 25 years and we've touched so many people and supported so many leaders. And we love the opportunity to do more of that. So why do you think people should invest in the next generation, the next 1,000 environmental leaders that are out there?
Yeah, I would say the last 5 or 10 years, I mean, I think I've seen just so many people, either my age or slightly younger than me. I feel like there's been kind of an explosion in environmental leadership. That's been really exciting to see students in high school and college really, I think, mobilize over the last couple of years on climate. But I think all those people are going to graduate. They're going to want to keep doing the work. But it might be hard to find that support outside of the school. To do that for them. So I think ELP can really provide a lot of that scaffolding and support for kind of this next generation because there's going to be a lot of us and we're going to need the support.
Yeah, I agree. Um, and since you've done your program in 2020, how like thinking towards the future, how do you hope to continue to move through the world as a senior fellow and move through the world as an environmental leader since we were speaking of the future?
Yeah, I feel like with ELP, it kind of gave me a really good I was able to really discover kind of like what skills I can bring or what kind of corner I can be the most effective. I think what I discovered was that it might not be the thing that you first think of or what might be most visible. But for me, I really enjoy working with young people and thinking about like mentoring is really important to me and kind of, yeah, so supporting people as they grow in their own journey. So I think that has been a good place for me to contribute to the ELP community.
Yeah. And speaking more on that contribution, like I said, we've been around for 25 years. What
Mhm.
kind of legacy do you think we're building as the environmental leadership program and your role as a senior fellow, as well as, board member? How do you think you're a part of that? How do you fit into that whole legacy that we're building?
Yeah, I think just kind of upholding and expanding the notion of who is an environmentalist, who can be an environmental leader, because I think it is about representation, but I think it's also about support once you get there. And I think ELP does such a good job of putting all those pieces there, not just getting people through the door, but also helping them grow once they have a seat at the table. And that to me is really important as being someone who maybe got through the door but didn't really feel that supported when I got there. So I that's kind of the future I hope and the legacy that ELP is building.
Awesome. Okay, I have one last question. I like to think of it as a fun one. So if you could complete the phrase ELP plus me equals, what would you say?
I would say ELP plus me equals growth. Yeah, I would say that's sort of my big word for that.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Brian, for participating, for sitting down and chatting with me. I really appreciate your time today. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you.